Good morning, everybody. That's the wind. My name is Adrian Benepe. I'm Senior Vice President and in charge of City Park Development for the Trust for Public Land. Really happy to be here with my Trust for Public Land colleagues. Raise your hand, Trust for Public Land colleagues. Because this is one of the projects we worked on here in Hilltop Park with San Francisco Recreation and Parks. And we are here to celebrate a really big day for the city of San Francisco. And we almost need a drum roll because this is a really, really big day. The Trust for Public Land, among other things, measures how well cities provide parks for the people who live there. And we look at a lot of different factors, Mayor. We look at how much you invest. We look at what percentage of the city is dedicated to parkland. We look at facilities like playgrounds and dog parks and recreation centers and senior centers and basketball hoops. And we add this all up, but the most important factor we look at is how many people have a park within a 10-minute walk. That's the most important thing. So that's where you score all your points. And for a number of years now, San Francisco has been not just in the top 5 in terms of the overall park score, but it's been at 99%. That is 99% of San Francisco residents live within a 10-minute walk of a park. This year, we're doing our counts and measuring and adding things, and we realized this year for the first time, San Francisco is the first city where every resident lives within a 10-minute walk of a park. 100%. In Trust for Public Land, this is a really big deal. This is a big deal. This is the promised land. This is Valhalla. This is the Holy Grail. It's all added up. And this doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you have a visionary mayor who is an advocate for parks and, most important, puts money into them. And you'll hear about that. You can't build parks or make parks without money. You can't do it without vision. And you have to have advocacy, not just from the mayor, but from the city council, and also to have a great recreation and parks department. And you have all three. I have, believe it or not, this young man here, Phil Ginsburg, is now the dean of park directors around the country. He has got, is it 8 years, 7 or 8 years now? 8 years. So with 8 years in, he's now one of the veterans. But he's also, he leads the best parks department in the country, pretty much. And he's a visionary too. But also, it's not him, it's these great recreation and parks staff here that make it happen. The planners, the gardeners, the maintenance workers. So just a final word, and I'd like to ask the mayor of the 100% city to speak. This is not made up. We map everything, and it can't be like a made-up walk. You can't grow wings and fly across a freeway or river to get there. It has to be on a street. It's measured. We measure it through the census figures, and we have to map all the parks. So this is scientific, highly scientific, and the reason why San Francisco got to 100% was because you added 7 or 8 new parks. You're adding parks, and most cities are afraid to add parks because they say, oh, it'll cost money to maintain them, but you're doing the right thing. You're saying parks are just this nice amenity you do when you take care of all the other vital services that parks make for a healthier city. Kids can get exercise in them. They make for an environmentally healthier city. They make for stronger communities. All of those benefits flow from parks, and that's something that Mayor Lee understands. So it's my pleasure on behalf of Trust for Public Land to congratulate Mayor Lee and ask him to say a few words.
Thank you. Well, Adrian, thank you. And thank you for being here with the Trust for Public Lands. And I don't know if you know this, but Adrian was the Commissioner of Parks for the City of New York for over 11 years, particularly those years when he led the effort to recover Central Park and all the other parks that for many years had been disinvested in. And I want to say thank you because those still are world-class parks, just like we have for Golden Gate Park. And I want to say welcome and thank you for your leadership. They're a great partner to have in the city. But the best partners that I have today are the ones that walked me to this park, and those are their kids in the background, and their parents, the parents and residents of Bayview. Welcome to Bayview, everybody. Everybody who's living in Bayview and Candlestick and Hunters Point, they're holding on to their property right now because everybody wants to live here. They've discovered how beautiful a place is, how wonderful the residents are here, and this is why we're here to demonstrate why it's a beautiful place to live, because it is the perfect place to say you're 10 minutes away from a park if you live here in the Bayview. Any place in the city, 10 minutes away. And let me add thanks to the dean, to all the staff, to the arborists, to the laborers, 261, and everybody working at a high level to support our residents and to make sure they have quality of life here. Our housing authority is here as well. And I know that in years past, people said, you didn't pay attention to us here. Well, we are now. We are now because our Human Rights Commission is here, our Parks and Rec are here, our Housing Authority is here. All the people that want to make sure the quality of life is the same here as it is for people in the marina and in Chinatown and in the Mission. It's all the same. People want to be here and live here because they know the quality of life is enriched. And having a park, a quality park, where kids feel so safe. As soon as they cross the street, let me go. And they drop their hands and they're out running and they're safe and they're going to grow up healthy. We're paying attention to our kids, not just at this age, but all ages, all so that they can live a wonderful life. And, you know, parks, and by the way, happy Infrastructure Week in San Francisco. This is National Infrastructure Week. It's one of the most exciting things. You know, they announce fire your FBI on the East Coast. We celebrate Infrastructure Week in San Francisco. And I want to always refer to parks as part of the infrastructure. Parks are as valuable as streets, as valuable as lights, as valuable as water. If you don't have parks, you're not living the urban life that we want to have, the quality of life here. And that's why it's part of the infrastructure. In fact, the last 6 years, we've invested $355 million capital dollars in all of our parks. And that's a reason why we can do a 10-minute walk to every park. This next 2 years, and I know our dean is advocating all the time with his commissioners, let's continue that high level of investments. We got another almost $90 million in the next 2 years in our parks and open space in San Francisco. That's always on the budget. Budget's almost closed, so you know there's more things we're gonna be funding, and I'm sure Phil's in my ear every single minute about things that we need. Yeah, right, Dean. All right. But I also want to say that infrastructure is important, and when you say parks is part of the infrastructure, they're going to get the same attention as repaving all the streets, as making sure housing is quality in this neighborhood, in every neighborhood, as well as public safety, as well as streets, all these things that make a city work for everybody. This is what we call infrastructure. And I have to say, with Adrian's help, we're going to send a message to the rest of the mayors. Not only are we first, we want you to have the same quality of life in your cities. This is what makes American cities great, is these parks, the trees, the plantings, the calmness that it brings. In neighborhoods like the Bayview, where they've had their share of trauma, we need to counter that with the parks and with open space that people love to be in. They're going to have excellent schools here as well. And this, again, is part of the nurturing of our children all the way through until they're really on their own. So I want to say congratulations to Recreation and Park Department for being such a wonderful leader on this. Thank you for the partnerships that you create. And by the way, when we invest this money in, guess what? It gets doubled, if not tripled sometimes, with private investments. This is the real big secret of a 10-minute walk to a park program. It's about not only the initial investment that we make as a city, because you can never, I think, do a whole park all by yourself. What happens is that then residents and volunteers start waking up to the possibilities of what their neighborhood park could look like, feel like, be designed for. And then you got private investments and foundations who are not wanting to take over parks. they want to also contribute to quality of life. So those three, the public-private partnerships, is the greatest thing that's ever happened to our park system and our recreation centers, because we can never do it alone. We can't pay 100% for everything that we want. But if we make the initial investment, if we create the vision that they have done here, and we got all the labor forces working together with us, then Trust for Public Lands and others can make an easy sell to the private sector that says, let's all join together with our residents, our volunteers, and our foundational investments. That's what makes a city great. Everybody participates, collaborates. This is how we roll in San Francisco. This is how the Warriors roll when they win the next games. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And by the way, we're filming this. Your words about infrastructure, we're doing a whole video on infrastructure. So you were perfectly scripted. Thank you. Hope you don't mind if I use that. And now my great opportunity to introduce my colleague. When he was appointed 8 years ago, he came to see me in New York and to ask my advice. And what I've told his crew here is that if he's done anything bad, it's because I gave him bad advice. So the Dean of Park Directors from around the country, your Rec and Parks General Manager, Phil Ginsburg.
Thank you, Adrian. I like that Dean thing. What a joyous, special day. And I just really want to say some heartfelt thanks. Our parks really are great for all kinds of reasons. Our park system is 140 years old. It covers every part of our city, but there is no reason our park system is great that is more important than equity and access. And the fact that every one of us, that 100% of us have the same access to open space as our neighbor and as somebody living in a neighborhood on a different part of the city. And it is a really, really proud day for parks. And so I want to start by thanking our mayor. And I want to thank him from going back to before he was mayor to the time when he was public works director and then city administrator, because he really planted a seed that, yes, infrastructure matters and infrastructure is important and that we need to fund it. And through his leadership in forming the city's 10-year capital plan, and then your leadership on the capital planning committee, and now your leadership as mayor, where you are prioritizing capital investment, it really, really, really matters. It makes a difference. It makes us able to do this. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. You are our park champion in chief. I also want to thank our sister agencies, from Barbara and the Housing Authority, but also our Public Works Department, our Public Utilities Commission, all of the city department, Port, all of OCII. San Francisco is blessed with open space because all kinds of city departments make open space matter. And this 100% number is not just ours alone, it is the city family prioritizing and making open space important. And that's how we achieved this standard. I do want to go back and, Mr. Mayor, thank you for one more thing, which is your willingness to trust us and your willingness to allow us to cultivate public-private partnerships to make that investment, because as you said, that's also what really makes this happen. And one of our strongest private partners is the Trust for Public Land, and Adrian, Ali, Tim, I mean the entire team, you're headquartered here, so we feel like we've got a little bit of a leg up, but the partnership is so special, and thank you for your guidance and your leadership and all of the resources that you bring, and frankly your focus on making sure that it is communities like this one. This is one of TPL's projects, Hilltop Park. This is now one of the most beautiful, most special parks in our entire city right here in this neighborhood, and that's because of TPL. I also want to thank the San Francisco Parks Alliance. Drew Becker is here, their new CEO. We really don't do this alone, and as the mayor said, and it requires partnership and partners and advocates and champions, and the Parks Alliance has been all of that for us. So thank you very, very much, Drew, to you and the entire organization. And Cheryl Davis came today because I asked her and she kind of understood that we were proud of this and it was important. And thank you for being our conscience, Cheryl. Equity really matters. Park access matters. And in a growing city where, growth results in all kinds of challenges, I'm very proud to say that park access isn't one of them. We've got that. So thank you, Cheryl. And My last thank you is to our parks, my staff and our parks team and Local 261, and Robert, who's over here. Thank you, Connie, for pointing at him for me. But Robert keeps all of the parks in this neighborhood sparkling, and he does it with so much pride. But our park system is great because of the men and women who work in it. And who really steward and shepherd the bones of our system. And so this is a really, really, really proud day. We want to keep going. We don't want to just have parks that are within a 10-minute walk of everybody. We want to have outstanding parks that are within a 10-minute walk of everyone. And so we're on our way. Thank you.
So on behalf of the Trust for Public Land, thank you all for coming, and just want to remind you who we're really celebrating today. It's not us who are making speeches. It's these kids who are going to grow up happier and healthier because of this great playground and because this mayor and this park director think that parks are important. Thank you all very much.
So today we're here to celebrate something really special that's happening in San Francisco. Our partners, the Trust for Public Land, are announcing that San Francisco is the first city in the United States of America where 100% of us, all of our residents, live within a 10-minute walk of a park. We are the first. That's worth a round of applause. And under our mayor's leadership, we are the first. We like to be first, right?
Yes.
We like to win NBA championships. We like to win World Series. We just like to be first.
Right.
And guess what? We're first. So what we're gonna do before we kind of hear from our mayor and from Adrian, and I'll say a few words. We're gonna celebrate this first by doing what? We're gonna walk to the park. And the only thing I ask is that we get there in 10 minutes. So, or less. Because if we don't get there in 10 minutes or less, we're not first. So I'm gonna set my little clock here. And Kevin and I are gonna walk together. We're gonna be walking buddies. Hold on, let me turn on my, here we go. Ready? Let's walk to the park, shall we?
All right. Let's go. The wheels on the bus go round.